Now that I got that off my chest, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another Detroit Lions video. Now, obviously, the Detroit Lions and the Chicago Bears played their Week 1 matchup yesterday, and unfortunately, the ending of the game was not quite how a lot of Detroit Lions fans were hoping it would be. However, just because the ending was not quite how we wanted it to be, that does not mean that the game did not have a lot of really positive takeaways that Detroit Lions fans can look forward to and can look at as a positive for the remainder of the NFL season. Now, before we do get into talking about this Week 1 recap of the Detroit Lions versus Chicago Bears game, if you are new to the channel and are enjoying the content, consider liking the videos and subscribing to the channel, as it takes only 2 seconds out of your day to help me spread this content out to more Detroit Lions fans such as yourselves. So if you could do so, I would be greatly appreciative. But with all that being said, let's get into talking about this Week 1 recap and talk about some of the positives, some of the negatives from this game, and what this team should look for moving forward. Now, obviously, if you watch the game, you know that the Detroit Lions lost this game 27-23 against the Chicago Bears. Now, if you look at the stats, they don't actually look too bad for any player. Matthew Stafford was 24 of 48, 297 passing yards, a touchdown, and an interception. Adrian Peterson was our leading rusher with 14 carries for 93 yards, averaging 6.6 yards a carry. Danny Amendola led our team in receiving yards with 5 receptions, 81 yards, 0 touchdowns. Hockenson was the only player with a receiving touchdown today with 5 receptions, 56 yards, and a touchdown. Marvin Jones had 4 receptions for 55 yards. Quintez Cephas had 3 receptions for 43 yards, and a couple other wide receivers had 1 or 2 receptions for a couple of yards. Now, the Detroit Lions, their offense, in my opinion, actually didn't play that bad. They made a couple really crucial mistakes. They, obviously the Matthew Stafford interception, the sack on 2nd and 3 when we were already in field goal range, and that could have, really helped and changed the outcome of that game. The offense definitely made some mistakes, but I didn't think the offense particularly played that poorly in Week 1. They started off kind of slow, but I felt like, in the second half, right at the end of the first half and right at the beginning of the second half, the Detroit Lions offense kind of figured out the Bears defense a little bit. They started putting up points. They started looking really, really good. And then by the end of the game, they kind of stalled out a little bit, but I blame that more to the coaching staff and more to the play calling than the players themselves, which I will get to in a minute. Now, the defense did not look particularly good. They did not look, significantly better like a lot of players were to, or that a lot of fans believed it would look. The Detroit Lions gave up 248 passing yards and 3 passing touchdowns. They also gave up 149 rushing yards, 0 touchdowns on the ground, but, still, they gave up a lot of yards, a lot of touchdowns, and they just weren't really that good. The stats actually looked a lot better than what it should have been, because Mitch Trubisky was missing a lot of wide open passes. I mean, there was a lot of times where the wide receiver was open, the wide receiver had a step, and Trubisky way underthrew him or way overthrew him. So the stats actually look better than they should, and to me, the defense was really the big downfall of this game. The offense was not the reason we lost this game, but the defense was definitely a big part of it. The only positive takeaway from the defense really is that Trey Flowers did get a sack on Mitch Trubisky. He actually forced a fumble, which knocked the Chicago Bears back a lot and, was really a big momentum swinger in the game. However, it was a little bit too late, and the offense was not able to do anything off that turnover. So, that was a positive for him. That was a positive for the team. We got a little bit of pressure. We got a little bit of, we did get a sack. We did get a forced fumble there, but it did not necessarily help us win the football game, unfortunately. So those were kind of the stats from the game. Looking at the major takeaways, the first thing I noticed in this game is that the Detroit Lions, the Lions organization, they had a lot of missed opportunity this game. And I know that football is a game of inches, is what people say. And in this game, it was particularly true, as the Detroit Lions had several opportunities to flip the narrative, to, put this game away, to change the football game. And for one reason or another, they just didn't make the play. They didn't make the correct play call. They didn't make the right read. And for some reason, all these opportunities were presenting themselves. The Bears handed us this game. And apparently, for some reason, the Lions just said, we could take this game, but we don't really want to. Some great examples of that would be, Jamal Agnew's kick return. He almost took I believe the first punt of the game back to the house. He was shoelace tackled, and if he broke that tackle, he's gone. There is nobody else in front of him. You have the Detroit Lions, you have Tracy Walker missing the interception on the goal line. You have Will Harris and Justin Coleman missing an interception on the same play. They both missed it. Will Harris, for some reason, left his feet and was under the ball. And then, obviously, Justin Coleman, unfortunately, dropped that interception that was tipped by Will Harris. So they both missed an interception on that play. DeAndre Swift, obviously, dropped the game-winning touchdown, or what would have been the game-winning touchdown with 6 seconds left on the clock. Matt Prater missed a field goal after a Matthew Stafford sack. There were so many opportunities for the Detroit Lions to put this game away. If the Detroit Lions get either of those 2 interceptions, most likely they're going to the house, because there wasn't, the only people that were in front of them were Mitch Trubisky and the offensive line. Likely those get taken back to the house. Obviously, if DeAndre Swift catches that touchdown, we win the game most likely, unless the Bears somehow score in 6 seconds, which, knowing our defense, probably would have happened anyway. The sack, if we didn't take that, it's a field goal. Then the Bears score, they're only up by 1, and we can kick a field goal at the end of the game instead of having to force it into the end zone. There was just a lot of missed opportunities. There were a lot of things the Lions could have done much better to win this game and win it handedly and make it so that our fourth quarter woes, wouldn't have even mattered. But they, unfortunately, throughout the game, did not take advantage of the situations that Mitch Trubisky handed us the game. They did not take advantage of the opportunities that the Bears provided the Lions. And, at the end of the game, that came back and bit us in the butt, because, just like last season, the Detroit Lions were competitive. They led all game. They looked like the better team for 3.5 quarters. And for some reason, that last 8 minutes of the football game, our team just switched off. Our defense got tired. Our offense looked stagnant. Our play calling got weak and conservative. And the Bears, got aggressive. The Bears got, their energy back for some reason. And all of a sudden, the narrative flipped where the Bears were down for the count. The Detroit Lions had the Bears on the ropes. I can't remember exactly what time it was, but there was some point late in the fourth quarter where the Detroit Lions had a 98-point-something% chance of winning the football game. And for some reason, they just did it. For some reason, every single, everybody in the Lions organization, everybody on that field for the Lions, their brains just switched off. They forgot how to play football. They forgot how to play defense. And they just looked really, really bad for that last 5 to 6 minutes of the football game, and that's what ended up costing us the game. Now, with that being said, there were a couple positives to take away from this game. Mainly on defense, the big one was the Detroit Lions did blitz more. They did get more pressure. Corey Undlin sent 4 guys, a lot more than last season from what we saw. He sent a lot of, or not a lot, but he sent more blitzes than what we saw last year. He sent more people last year. We got more pressure on Mitch Trubisky, and that was working for a lot of the time. And, as I said, at the end of the game, we just got really conservative with our defensive play calling, and, went back to that, okay, only rush 3, drop 8 guys into coverage, which is something we cannot do. It did not work last year, and I can understand why we did it last year, because we did not have a lot of depth. A lot of our players were injured, and we were just trying to, drop a lot of guys into coverage. I understand the concept behind it, but it's not working. We saw it last year not work because we gave up all those fourth quarter leads. We tried it again this year, and, the thought process was maybe, okay, our defensive line is healthier, Trey Flowers is healthy, Deshaun Hand is healthy, Danny Shelton is here and he's healthy, Nick Williams is here and he's healthy, Romeo Okwara looked better today or yesterday, we got Julian Okwara who would come and make an impact. If we only rush 4 guys with all these healthy guys back, maybe we can get pressure with only 3 or 4. However, that did not happen. That game plan did not end up working, and again, we saw it last year, we saw it again this year. The play calling at the end of the game gets very conservative because they just want to hold on to the lead. They don't want to risk anything. They don't want to blitz more guys than they have to. They want to drop as many guys into coverage, but the only problem with that is that the quarterback has all the time in the world to make a throw. Mitch Trubisky was sitting back there and got to his 3rd and 4th reads at times. There was a play where Anthony Miller fell down, got back up, and still got open, and Mitch Trubisky found him because our pressure was not getting there. I can understand the concept behind it, and I can understand why Matt Patricia likes to do this, why he likes to drop all these players into coverage, but at some point you just have to look at it and say, this isn't working. We have to change it up, and if that means sending more pressure late in games, even if you're up, I would rather get beat on a blitz. I would rather blitz the quarterback and make him have to make a tough throw while he's being hit or, why he's about to be hit, than give him all the time in the world, with a 3-man rush to find a wide open wide receiver. Just the Detroit Lions play calling needs to improve. But this is supposed to be a positive. I kind of went on a rant a little bit because I'm very frustrated with the play calling, and I will get way into that in a little bit. But, the positives to take away from this game, we did get more pressure throughout a majority of the game. We did blitz more. We did get a couple really good pressures, a couple really good hits on Trubisky. And as I said, Trey Flowers did get a sack and a forced fumble, assisted by Deshaun Hand, who did get interior pressure. So those two looked pretty good to me. Romeo Okwara to me had a couple really nice plays where he blew the tackle right off the, line of scrimmage. scrimmage. I thought Romeo Okwara looked pretty solid throughout the game as well. So our defensive line individually, I actually thought played fairly well. I thought Trey Flowers played well when he was in. I thought Danny Shelton played very well. I thought he was one of the bright spots of the defense. I thought Romeo Okwara had his flashes, great throughout the game, but he definitely had his flashes where he was getting good pressures on the quarterback. He was, getting really close to those sacks and forced, Trubisky to leave the pocket, forced Trubisky to get out and kind of, force that pressure to, allow other players to have sacks, allow other players to make a play. So I thought Romeo Okwara had a fairly good bounce back day. Yeah, outside of that, that was really it. Our linebackers didn't play particularly well. Our secondary didn't play particularly well. And yeah, you can make excuses that, we were injured. We lost our top 2 cornerbacks early in the game. Trey Flowers got hurt, all that. But at the end of the day, the Detroit Lions should have won this game. Looking at the positives on the offensive side of the ball, Taylor Decker looked phenomenal. He was shutting down Khalil Mack all day. I think there was only 1 or 2 snaps throughout the entire game where, I saw Khalil Mack really beat Taylor Decker. But, considering Khalil Mack is an elite player in the NFL and Taylor Decker pretty much shut him down and didn't allow a whole lot on that side of the offensive line, that was really encouraging to me. That makes me think that he, the play throughout training camp that we've talked about was real. It's a, constant thing now, and we're going to see Taylor Decker step up and become that first-round tackle that we drafted him to be. That tells me that he's back, he's fully healed. For, whatever reason, he all of a sudden has stepped his game up and is starting to earn that contract. To me, he played phenomenally that game, and I have to give my hat off to, I have to give a round of applause to Taylor Decker because that dude balled. He held Khalil Mack to pretty much nothing, maybe like 1 pressure throughout the entire game, but Taylor Decker stepped up phenomenally. Adrian Peterson, the brand new Detroit Lions, stepped up as well, played fantastic, and should have been the reason we won the game. Play calling was the downfall. It was not the players. Adrian Peterson played so well. He had 14 carries for 93 yards, averaging 6.6 yards a carry. Adrian Peterson played super well. The offensive line as a whole played super well outside the holding penalties, and just the run game looks real in Detroit. That is the big thing that I'm going to take away from this matchup against the Bears, is that this run game in Detroit looks legit. It looks real with Adrian Peterson running behind a line that got really good holes, opened up really good holes in the rushing game, and had really good players playing up to a fantastic level throughout the entire game against a very solid Bears front seven. Like, the Detroit Lions run game looks legit this year, and we need to rely on that more, especially if our defense is not going to be able to hold up their end of the bargain at the end of football games. Those were kind of my positives. As I said, this game did not end particularly well for the Detroit Lions, but they did have a lot of positives to take away. Matthew Stafford, looked okay. He looked kind of off and on at times. Adrian Peterson looked phenomenal. Hockenson looked really, really good. Our offensive line looked great. Like, even with the questions at the guard positions, our offensive line looked really, really good against a stacked Bears front seven. The defense played well throughout 3 quarters. As I said, they didn't play great. They didn't play horrible throughout the first 3 quarters. It looked, I feel like the defense definitely needs to step it up, and the Detroit Lions, they hurt themselves in this game. They really did. I'm going to say this, and I firmly stand behind this, and Bears fans can disagree all you want, but the Detroit Lions beat themselves in this game, and I firmly believe that. And yes, I know the Chicago Bears won the game. They had the final highest score, whatever, but the Detroit Lions beat themselves in this game. Now, what I mean by that is the Detroit Lions coaching staff was atrocious. It was really, really bad in the 4th quarter. They had a great game plan coming in. They did pretty much what I said. They got up early. They relied on the run game. They didn't allow Khalil Mack to get a lot of pressure on Matthew Stafford. They forced the game into Trubisky's hands. They did exactly what I said, and I thought it was a really good game plan. However, at the end of the game, in the 4th quarter, when Adrian Peterson is going off, averaging 6.6 yards a carry, and it is 2nd and 3, and you are in field goal range with less than 4 minutes on the clock with a 1 or 2 possession lead, but the Detroit Lions were up, they were driving, they had this Bears defense exhausted and dead to rights, and for some reason, unknown reason, Darrell Bevell calls a rollout pass where Matthew Stafford then gets sacked on, and we are out of field goal range. We missed the field goal, the Bears go down and score a touchdown, and they are right back in the game. If this doesn't happen, if we run with Adrian Peterson, and even if we get 0 yards, even if Adrian Peterson is stopped at the line of scrimmage, which was not going to happen because he was just on that day. If Adrian Peterson, let's say the worst case scenario is that he even gets tackled for a 2-yard loss, a 1 yard, 2 yard loss, we lose a couple of yards and the clock is still running. who cares? We're still in field goal range. We're still close enough where Matt Prater is not going to hit the post. It's going to be close enough where that kick narrowly sneaks through the uprights, but then that's still 3 more points on the board, and then that allows the Detroit Lions at the end of the game, even if they're down, then they're only down by 1, and they can go down and kick a field goal and not have to force a touchdown. Like, the play calling in this game was bad. The rollout pass was really, really bad. Getting conservative at the end of the game when we should have been lighting up Trubisky and sending as much as we could at him was really, really bad. Matt Patricia's coaching and, I'm not just blaming Matt Patricia. I'm blaming everybody that called plays. I'm blaming Darrell Bevell. I am blaming Cord Unlin. I am blaming Matt Patricia. Any coach that called a play yesterday needs to be blamed for this loss and not the players. Because the players, they played well. They showed up to play. They had the Bears dead to rights. They were outperforming the Bears. They were the better roster. They were the better football team than the Chicago Bears. And the coaching staff threw that away because they wanted to put the ball in the hands of Matthew Stafford. And I get it. I understand. I love Matthew Stafford. He is my favorite quarterback in the NFL. He's the only quarterback that I have ever seen quarterback the Detroit Lions. And he is one of my favorite quarterbacks ever. But at the same time, during that game, when we were driving, when Adrian Peterson was going off, I said to me and my dad were watching the game, and I said, I hope Matthew Stafford does not touch the ball for the rest of the game. And at that point, Matthew Stafford had 31 pass attempts for, whatever it was, and there were 4 minutes left. It was 2nd and 3, and I said, I hope Matthew Stafford does not touch the ball again unless it is to hand the ball to Adrian Peterson. And you know what happened the next play? Matthew Stafford took the ball, he rolled out, he got sacked, Lions are out of field goal range, they missed the field goal, the Bears score a touchdown immediately after that, get right back in the game. Like, I called this before it even happened. Matthew Stafford at 31 pass attempts with 4 minutes left in the game should not have touched the ball. The ball should not have left his hands as a pass. He should have caught the ball, turned around, hand it right to Adrian Peterson, let him go straight down the field and score a touchdown and put the game out of reach. And I'm going to blame the coaching staff a lot because I truly think this was on them. The Detroit Lions, in my opinion, are the more talented roster. I think they showed that throughout 3 quarters, and the coaching staff, the play calling, let the Detroit Lions down yesterday. And I'm going to firmly stand behind that. The Detroit Lions beat themselves with poor coaching, poor preparation with all the penalties. Jamie Collins, I understand what he was doing, but that was weird. I've never seen anybody ever do that before. And, I'm low-key convinced that the ref kind of moved into it. If you watch it again and again, like, the more I watch it, the more I'm convinced the ref turns his shoulder into it. But either way, Jamie Collins should not have been in that position. The Detroit Lions should not have been jumping off sides. They should not have been holding. They should not have been having those penalties that extended the Bears' drives and gave them more chances. And the play calling just needs to be better because this team is talented. This run game is talented. This quarterback is talented. We're getting Kenny Golladay back next week, and hopefully our our right tackle. The offensive weapons are going to improve. The protection is going to improve. This team is a good one. This team can run the football. This team can throw the football. This team can play defense for 3 quarters. And generally when you have a great offense and you have a defense that can hold an opponent to 6 points throughout 3 quarters of a football game, you generally win football games. You are generally a good football team. But the Detroit Lions just cannot seem to finish football games, and that is going to be their biggest downfall this season, is if they can't finish, if that defense can't step up for that extra 4 minutes of a football game where they're not even on the field the whole time. If they can't step up for those last 2 drives of a football game, we're not going to win a lot. With all that being said, that is all I got for you guys today. I will be coming out with more thoughts on this tomorrow because I have a lot more to talk about, but I don't want to make this video ridiculously long because, I got stuff to do today, and, obviously I don't want to keep you here for too much longer. So, with all that being said, that is all I got for you guys right now. I will see all of you tomorrow with more Detroit Lions content if there is no Lions news today. My final thoughts, just the Lions beat themselves today, and I truly believe that. They were the better team. They dominated this game for 3.5 quarters, but at the end of the day, the Bears won the game, and congratulations to Chicago for starting the season 1-0. With all that being said, that is all I got for you guys today. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Have an absolutely fantastic rest of your day. If there is more Lions news before tomorrow, I will obviously make a video letting everybody know. But until then, that is all I got for right now. Thank you all so very much for watching, and I will see you all tomorrow with more Detroit Lions content. Bye, guys.